You can build a spaceship with it, a sleek race car, or even an entire city. Amazing, right?
Project of such complexity, you have to have this, people who are unifying the whole program on the architecture level, not just on the project management level.
BRIM remains complex. That's quite puzzling, right? Why is it still complex if now you have people who know the solution, configuring the solution?
Hi everybody, so finally here today I have Nitish Puttur with me, who is one of top BRIM experts that we have at Clarity. And today we would like to talk about why SAP BRIM is so complex. So a lot of customers see SAP BRIM implementation as quite complex and challenging, and a lot of them are quite scared of it. Personally, my opinion about it that is it is complex because the processes that we implement are complex, right? So BRIM, it's not just invoicing, it's also the rating system that's connected to your source systems. It's your order management system that you have to integrate with your front office systems like self-care, web shop, CPQ solution, or a CRM environment. And then, revenue recognition is there, fulfillment, provisioning, so all of that has to work together. And I think that brings the complexity. So it's not really the solution that is complex, it's actually the processes that we implement are complex. But I'm here to understand what is your opinion on this topic.
Well, Max, thanks finally for having me. Why is SAP BRIM complex? I think you hit on all the right nails, multiple solutions involved. But I think we need to look at complexity, how the complexity evolved throughout the years. You remember when we started a few years ago, BRIM was a niche area. It was more about how to configure, how do I design it properly. So at that point in time, it was more like, how do I make sure I have the people with the right skill set to configure the tool to use it? Over the years, as more and more companies have implemented BRIM, we still see that BRIM remains complex. That's quite puzzling, right? Why is it still complex if now you have people who know the solution, configuring the solution? Well, in truth, BRIM, I believe, it's not really complex. What happens is BRIM is more like a magnifying glass. It exposes the underlying problems you already have in your legacy system that you just didn't see it before. Think about this. You have pricing rules dormant in an Excel, in somebody's inbox, approval workflows or compliances which are being driven based on who is on vacation, who is there, or maybe only one person in finance knows about how the whole thing works. So this is something which maybe worked fine before because you didn't see it. But now that you're implementing BRIM, which is like an end-to-end transformation, it's not just BRIM is modular. It's not just bringing a plug-in box and it will work out of the box magic. No, because you have to relook end-to-end at your whole order-to-cash process. And what we see is, at least what I'm seeing right now, the main complexities is people have been working in silos, each team individually doing their own work. And now when it comes time to redo that in a new system, they are each designing the best solution within their space only. So that's what's bringing it complex, I believe, more than the solution itself, more than it's rather how to get everybody to work together and how to get people to collaborate together more.
Yeah, I remember in the early days when we were working with you on projects, it became apparent already there that, if you have the project of such complexity, you have to have this, people who are unifying the whole program on the architecture level, not just on the project management level, right? Because otherwise just everybody is pulling their blanket in their direction, and the solutions that are getting designed, they're not scalable, they're not, according to SAP best practice, and later it brings a lot of problems for customers when they're scaling the solution.
True, and one of the great analogies that I've used before, I'm still using, think of a Lego box, 10,000 pieces. You can build a spaceship with it, a sleek race car, or even an entire city. Amazing, right? Now, dump these 10,000 pieces on a table without a shared blueprint. What happens? Chaos. Sales sees a rocket. Finance sees a car. IT is coming in. Where are the wheels? It's just because people are not seeing it end-to-end how we go to that vision. And this is, I think, what we have been doing best here, because a lot of customers, partners, they already have very smart people. I've had the chance to work with really smart people from whom I've learned and I'm still learning. But the real value, I think, we're bringing it because we've seen it from the early days, end-to-end, and we're coming in, getting all these smart people, including us, to bring in our experience and show end-to-end how do we build this rocket or race cars that the customer is seeing.
So, there is customers on the market who start small, and usually this is the approach that we take at Clarity, where we say, okay, let's look at MVP, let's start with MVP, and then let's go big. And then there is customers who start big, and they do this lift and shift of as is, and they bring the same complexity into BRIM, and that's also quite problematic. And there's customers who try to harmonize in parallel, and that's also quite challenging. We always thought that, okay, MVP approach is the right approach, but I think that, what I'm seeing is that if you just stick to MVP, then later on, whatever you build for MVP is probably not scalable into the big picture. So what is your opinion? What is really the best approach out of three for customers who are entering the BRIM journey?
Oh, tough question, because there's no right answer, right? It varies from customer to customer. But I can relate to what you're saying about the lift and shift and customers trying to transpose whatever is built in legacy into BRIM. That, in my experience, doesn't turn out to be good. I mean, we had this experience at SAP itself, where traditionally softwares were being sold as with a perpetual license or as a one-off with sales orders, and they wanted to rebuild it because people were comfortable in. Have to understand something. People spent years. Let's take a big step back. Think of a pricing specialist. That guy has been working years on an Excel, perfecting his workbook with all the formulas to give you the result that is beneficial to the company today, right? Now you're coming in, telling this person, now we have a rating engine, SAP conversion charging. So if you try to compete, because people have friction, people are used to feel a sense of attachment to what they have done, and rightly so. But to this type of customers or people, what we should do is accompany them differently. It's not that BRIM is copying whatever you have done in your Excel to conversion charging, but now you have the tool, reliable tool, which can monitor, to take whatever legacy, whatever you have built, transform it into a better way in charging, but also give you the same time now to invest on the strategy of pricing, the vision of where we take the product, what is working best. Now, to go back to your question, customers implementing, trying to lift and shift their legacies. That legacy can be from a simple Excel to an SD-based billing or any non-SAP systems that they have today to build it to bring. I think that it's not only lift and shift. You have to look opportunities to innovate, to simplify, and don't waste this. Even if you're doing a lift and shift, it's never just a lift and shift. MVP, in my opinion, because BRIM is a big transformation, as we spoke about. You're changing rather than not changing. So if you think about the magnifying glass again, you're looking at each details of the business end to end, right? So MVP has two goals. It's not only I want to ship something to production just to show that I've done a BRIM implementation. You want to get the buy-in of all the stakeholders. The best systems are not the systems which is having the best design. The best systems are the ones which got the buy-in of all the users, all the people using that system. So for me, MVP, I always recommend MVP. There are different ways to go about with an MVP. By ways, it's different deployment modes. You can build on top of your existing system. You can have a side-by-car approach. So in terms of deployment, BRIM is very flexible. You have different options. That's why I say it's not easy to have one answer for all customers, because all of them have their history, have their legacies that they've been building, and it's purely on a case-by-case basis that we need to look into that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think, MVP approach, of course, it's less risk, it's less commitment from a customer. Customer gets to start using a solution, so faster user adoption. And a lot of the time what we see is that the requirements that the customer is having towards the system that they're implementing before the project, they change significantly after they actually start using the system. But what I wanted to say is that I think what I believe is that any customer going on an MVP approach, they should take a holistic view at all of the lines of businesses that they plan to implement on BRIM and do a high-level enterprise architecture on everything, and just to make sure that whatever deployment option that they select for BRIM is going to be scalable for other lines of businesses down the line. Do you agree with that, or?
Absolutely, and so it's undisputed that MVP is a very good option. Where it becomes tricky is how do you choose your MVP? And like you rightly said, you cannot just focus on only one country or line of business, or you could in certain cases, but you have the opportunity right now to look across all line of businesses or how different companies are selling the same product, to come in with what are the differentiators across the countries that we have, what are things which are similar, and to come to an MVP with a pilot or a global rollout. And then, of course, with a rollout strategy, you can customize it for each country. This gives you the ability to know all the risk way ahead. I mean, as in all projects, you try to plan for all the issues which can happen, and the issues, they always come in sooner or later at the project. But the best way is look at all the business processes, all countries, not only try to replicate it to BRIM, try to harmonize, because there are things that have been done in the past, probably because sales wanted to go fast in some markets and we didn't have time to think about how the end-to-end process would look like in terms of compliance or finance. And then you have a couple of workarounds to do accruals or revenue recognition. So what I've been doing and what I'm advising customers to do is during our prepare and explore phase, let's look at all the countries as much as possible.